unsheathing his sword, even while watching and witnessing Amirul Mu'mineen be dragged from his house to the mosque in order to be coerced into giving what they call a bay'ah. Submission and surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what it's all about. And yet you have people who try to manipulate God's religion because they're trying to rationalize everything, because they feel unable to surrender to the will of God. They try to bend over backwards, twist everything that comes along their way. So they'll misinterpret the Quran, they will misinterpret the traditions of the Holy Prophet. In fact, prior to taking that step of misinterpreting the Hadith, they try to discredit the Hadith. One of the easiest things, especially because many of their audiences are incredibly gullible and ignorant, one of the easiest things nowadays, most audacious of acts, and yet the easiest, is to discredit the Hadith. Oh, who says this Hadith is authentic? Who says it's authentic? Are you a scholar of Hadith? Are you an expert in authenticating the chain of transmission of the words of the Holy Prophet and his household? Do you know the ABCs of Ilm al-Rijal? Do you know anything about Dirayatul Hadith? Have you read, have you studied, who are you? All of a sudden you're an expert? This, brothers and sisters, is like someone expressing their own views and personal opinions about medical matters. Cystic fibrosis? Oh, that's easy. All you got to do is mix this with that, this herb with that plant, and you'll be good. COVID-19, not a problem. Everybody seems to have a recipe, a prescription, a remedy, some kind of a medicine to cure the world of a global pandemic that's hijacked the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. All of a sudden, everyone becomes a medical expert, right? The difference is, when you pretend to be a medical expert, when you pretend to be a doctor or a physician, it's very easy to discredit you. Because the first question people will ask is, I'm sorry, are you a doctor? Did we miss the time when you went to medical school and studied there for 12 years? Because as far as I know, you were not a doctor. That's it. Simple as that. But when it comes to matters of religion, and particularly when it comes to Hadith, no one challenges them. And so they'll come up with fancy expressions to try and create some kind of a framework to deceive the masses into thinking that what these people are doing is an actual, legitimate, bona fide, intellectual pursuit. So they'll call it something like Quran centricity, which is basically a fancy rephrasing of what Umar ibn al-Khattab said to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the messenger was on his deathbed and asked for a pen and paper to write his final will and testament, after which he would guarantee that people would not deviate. And he turned around and with the utmost audacity and shamelessness said, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَهْجُرُ حَسْبُنَا كِتَابُ اللَّهِ. These, by the way, I'm combining two different hadiths. One hadith says, a man declared, إِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَهْجُرُ. The guy is delirious. Look at the shamelessness. Look at the audacity. If there was no other proof, astaghfirullah. The other hadith actually mentions his name and says, قال عمر لقد غلب عليه الوجع. He's too overwhelmed by pain. Hasbuna kitabullah. We don't need the book of Allah. Do not, whatever you do, don't give him the pen and paper because I know what he's about to write down. Quran centricity, brothers and sisters, is another fancy repackaging of the same philosophy. So there's no need to treat us like fools into thinking that you've come up with anything original or interesting. You've basically borrowed the concept from Umar ibn al-Khattab. At least be honest. At least don't plagiarize. At least provide a reference to your theory. Quran centricity. Why? The idea is to discredit all hadith. Because the problem they have with hadith is that it's too elaborate. There are too many hadiths. You can't really misinterpret hadith as easily as you can with the Quran. The Quran is mujmal. The Quran contains a lot of verses that are mutashabih. They are allegorical. They can take multiple meanings. You can take one verse, give it to two scholars, and end up with three different opinions about the meaning of the verse. You can't do that. That's been done. It's been done for over 1,000 years. Do you think every deviant school of thought hasn't provided Quranic references to justify and back up and substantiate their claims? Have you not watched a sermon by the one who's now a rotten corpse, alhamdulillah? But have you not watched a sermon by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the former mastermind and leader of ISIS? Have you not seen how many verses of the Quran he quotes? What does that tell you? It tells you that as far as the Quran is concerned, unless you provide some kind of a frame of reference for the Quran, unless you couple the Quran, you complete the equation and couple the Quran with the interpreters of the Quran, then you can basically do whatever you want with that text. قُلْ هُوَ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ. Listen to this incredible verse. فِي